Before steel, before gunpowder, there was thunder that walked, not from the sky, but from the earth itself. A sound so deep it made armies tremble before the battle even began. A wall of flesh and fury, wrapped in armor and guided by men whose hearts had long since learned to beat in rhythm with giants. These were not just animals. They were weapons of empire, living machines of conquest, and the men who commanded them were both masters and martyrs of the ancient world. Welcome to Legacy Chronicle Hub. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon for more epic history stories. Long before Rome dreamed of legions, before Alexander looked eastward, the Indian subcontinent was already home to one of history's most sophisticated war machines, the war elephants of the Mauryan Empire. To the ancients, they were gods made flesh, embodiments of Airavata, the celestial elephant of the storm god Indra, who trampled demons beneath his tusks and carried lightning in his trunk. In temples, elephants were sacred. In war, they were divine judgment. Every great Indian dynasty, from the Nandas to the Mauryas, sought to control this power, to turn the symbol of kingship into the engine of conquest. But to command an elephant was not merely to ride one. It was to gamble your life on the loyalty of a creature that could kill you with a flick of its head. The tradition began in the forests of Bihar and Assam, where elephant herds roamed like living storms. Young mahouts, elephant trainers, were chosen not for strength, but for stillness. They learned to whisper before they could shout, to listen before they could lead. Each elephant was captured in elaborate hunts known as keda, entire villages forming living walls to funnel wild giants into enclosures. There, through weeks of ritual, music, and patience, the wild spirit was not broken, but bent. Ancient texts like the Shastra, written by Chandragupta, the mastermind behind the Mauryan Empire, described the elephant as both asset and weapon. They were cataloged, trained, taxed, and guarded like royal treasure. The best were chosen for the emperor himself, adorned in gold and iron, given names, and treated as officers of war. Because when they marched, the world shook. Imagine the training ground. The dawn is red over the Ganges plain. The air smells of dust and sweat. A young elephant, still half wild, is bound with chains thick as a man's arm. Its eyes, enormous, intelligent, roll with terror and rage. Beside it stands its mahout, barefoot, armed with nothing but a hook pole and a song. Day after day, the man sings to the beast, feeds it by hand, washes its tusks, sleeps in its shadow, until one morning when the elephant no longer pulls against the chains. It kneels, and the mahout climbs onto its back. The chains fall away. The bond is sealed, not by fear, but by ritual obedience. From then on, the pair live as one. If the elephant dies, the mahout's life is forfeit. If the mahout falls, the elephant rages in blind fury. They are bound by something deeper than command, a shared fate. Now, picture the battlefield of Kalinga, 261 BCE. A lush plain, drenched in mist and screams. King Ashoka, heir to the Maurya throne, commands one of the largest armies ever assembled in the ancient world. More than 500 war elephants at its core. Opposite him stands the proud kingdom of Kalinga, defiant, unbowed. The drums begin. 1,000 feet stamp the rhythm of doom. The elephants advance. Spears glance off their hides. Arrows fall like rain, but the beasts do not break stride. At the front, the royal elephant corps, towering above men and horses, smash into enemy lines with the force of an avalanche. Men scatter like leaves beneath a storm. The ground itself quakes. Soldiers describe the experience in surviving chronicles. They came like mountains in motion, the air filled with dust, the earth with death. But amid the triumph, the horror blooms. Because elephants do not kill cleanly. They trample, they crush, they terrify. The psychological warfare was unmatched. Entire formations collapsed before contact, their courage shattered by the sight of tusks and thunder. And yet, for the mahouts, there was no glory, only survival. They rode through fire, knowing that if their elephant panicked, turned, or fell, they would be crushed beneath their own command. Some carried poison daggers, meant for their own beasts, a final mercy if madness took hold. In the aftermath of Kalinga, the rivers ran red. Over 100,000 men lay dead, and among them, hundreds of elephants. Ashoka, who watched the carnage from his royal elephant, was never the same. The screams of men and beasts alike broke something within him. He laid down his sword. He renounced conquest. He embraced Buddhism and carved the story of his remorse into stone pillars that still stand today. But for the mahouts, the bond endured. Many refused to leave their fallen elephants, dying beside them rather than live in disgrace. In ancient Indian lore, it's said that an elephant never forgets, but neither did the men who rode them. They carried the ghosts of the beasts they had loved and sometimes killed for the rest of their lives. Their loyalty was absolute, their burden unbearable. As centuries passed, the world changed. Steel replaced muscle. Gunpowder silenced thunder. The age of the war elephant began to fade. When the British arrived in India, they still saw elephants in royal processions, but not on the battlefield. The beasts had become symbols, no longer weapons, but monuments to a forgotten kind of power. By the 19th century, the last battle elephants of India marched not for war, but for ceremony. Their tusks gilded, their eyes dulled by time. The once mighty ancient tanks had become living relics, reminders of an empire built on the backs of giants. But something lingered, not in the armies, but in the bloodlines. Today, in the forests of Assam and Kerala, you can still find descendants of those war elephants. They work in temples and logging camps, in festivals, still trained by mahouts, still bound by song. The bond remains unchanged. In modern military academies, strategists still study the Mauryan use of elephants as psychological warfare, proof that victory is not always won by force, but by fear. And yet, as we look back, we must ask, what did that power cost? 1,000 victories, built on the loyalty of beasts who never chose the wars they fought. Empires rose on their backs and vanished in their shadows. What does loyalty mean when even animals gave it more purely than men? Before tanks, there were tusks. Before armor, there was hide. Before engines, there was thunder. The war elephants of India were not just weapons. They were the heartbeat of an empire, the living breath of conquest itself. But like all great powers, they carried a curse. The moment man believed he could command nature, he became its prisoner. So the next time you hear thunder, remember it once had a face. If this story of ancient giants moved you, honor their memory. Leave a like, subscribe Legacy Chronicle Hub for more forgotten legacies. And as always,